So hi everyone, really happy to see all of you here today. I have a special guest on my channel. You remember Tori? We've made a few videos before, some on my channel and some of hers. We talked about MBTI and Enneagram. So please feel free to check all of our previous collaborations out. Tori, if you want to introduce yourself, say a few things about your channel.
Sure. So my channel is currently called Personality Story, and it used to be called Tori H. It is also about personality types and MBTI as well as Enneagram, and sometimes also a little bit about socionics. So basically about typology content as well.
Yeah, I will link Tori's channel in the description below, so make sure that you check out her channel and subscribe. She also has an Instagram page. I know you're not as active on Instagram as you are on YouTube, but I think it's a really nice page as well, and I recommend you guys to follow it as well. Okay, so today we were thinking of discussing about the 16 types and namely what we really like about them, because I've been making a lot of content on the theory behind MBTI and Enneagram, on the things that describe the cognitive functions, the stacks, the Enneagram types, how they work, etc., etc. So today we kind of thought of bringing a more light-hearted, informal perspective on the things that we really enjoy the most about the types. So we will take each of the groups, each of the temperament groups one at a time, and share our ideas on the things that we think are the most fascinating or the things that we admire the most. And I thought we could start with the idealists, so the NF types. Let's say maybe ENFP. Let's start with ENFP. What are your favorite things about ENFPs?
I think I like their energy because they just they really know how to energize the room with their presence.
Mm-hmm.
And I find them they usually do have a sense of humor as well, like in a group setting. I feel like for us, we are more like able to exhibit that side when we are maybe in a smaller setting, but for ENFPs, they are able to do it in a group setting. And that's kind of nice to just have someone to settle the atmosphere part for us, because we're not really in control of that. I also like that they are very creative, because I feel like there is definitely a great need of ENFPs in the performing arts and as well as in the writing and basically like creative areas. That's where most of the ENFPs I know flourish. So I really appreciate that, because I also am interested in the similar subjects. So I feel like, okay, someone else also cares about this and wants to, you know, produce high quality projects related to the arts.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with you about the energy and the humor. Humor is something I struggle with, especially if I'm not very comfortable with the people that I'm talking to. But I've met some really awesome ENFPs in improvisational theater courses that I took a few years ago, and they were so good at it. Like, they just made everyone laugh instantly with all of their like jokes and the way they adapted to all of the context that they had to improvise in. I really thought that was awesome. And honestly, there's one more thing I would add to what you said, and this is their introverted feelings ability to take care of themselves. I feel like they're much better than FE types at saying, okay, this is what I'm comfortable doing, and this is something that is not really for me. This is what I like, and this is what I dislike. And that's something I admire, because I might struggle to do it in a lot of situations.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like ENFPs and as well as other strong FI types, they know what they want and they really go for it. And I feel like this is something that is lacking, especially in my culture, because a lot of people are like for stable jobs, which I'm not against. But I feel like ENFPs are very passionate people, and they often dare to go for like what they really like. And a lot of my ENFP friends are really pursuing what they want from the very beginning. And they are very courageous that they try different things. And this is
Yeah.
something that I'm also doing right now. So it's something that I find inspiring from the FI people, especially ENFPs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, since you mentioned FI people, let's move on to INFP because it's a similar type, at this time an FI dominant type. What are your favorite things about the INFPs?
Well, actually, one of my, if not my favorite actor who unfortunately already passed away, but
Okay.
I would say that my all-time favorite actor was an INFP. His name is Leslie Cheung from Hong Kong.
Okay.
And I think he appeared on a Time cover, or either Time cover or like an issue of Time for like being the most, one of like the most memorable Asian actors. And he's just like amazing. Like I feel like INFPs, when they really excel in their craft, they go really deep. And I'm not trying to say like ENFPs can't go there, but I feel like ENFPs are more like they are better at improvisation and at a slightly more lighthearted like scenes and more expressive scenes, whereas INFPs can really grasp like the internal states of the characters when it comes to acting, because I'm quite interested in that as well. And so when I see INFPs, when they do excel in their craft, they usually become very impressive, like whether it's acting or art or writing. I also have some favorite authors who are INFPs and some artists. So I think the talents, because of their very strong feelings, when they do channel it in a artistic or creative way, I find them to be really attaining great heights that many people cannot get to.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, the introverted feeling hero, I find to be deeply like soothing, especially if they really care about you. So if you're their close friend or family member or significant other, I feel like they make you feel completely like heard and understood on a different level than FE does. And I think in Dario Nardi's book, The Neuroscience of Personality, he was talking about how people who have very high introverted feeling, they listen with the whole brain. And that I found to be like fascinating because, they're really there to connect and fully listen. And I think that also comes from the fact that they are more selective than extroverted feeling types.
Yeah, they can kind of make you feel special that way. Yeah.
It's hard to get there, but
yeah, they have like it's quite obvious that they are selective when they focus on people that they like.
Definitely. Okay, let's go to ENFJ. So this time the mirror type of INFP. What's your favorite thing about one of our sister types, basically?
Right. I think what I like about ENFJ is that they are sort of like the more mainstream version of us, in a sense that they can really get out and be in front of the crowd, and they can kind of popularize what we usually do. Like they can kind of, because of the FE, they can make it popular. So it's sort of like, it helps a lot, because sometimes I want to make my interests more known by other people, or make certain like hobbies more respected, and it's hard to do that as someone who doesn't have that level of social like their social power, I would say, influence. Social influence.
I felt like saying social energy, because that also seems to fit, because I find ENFJs to be so good at just getting the energy of the group with their FE and their SE at the same time, and then kind of leading that group, but in a way that is not too forceful or too domineering, but kind of like inspiring everyone to come with them, to take action, to do the things that they kind of find to be the most important. And What I really also like about them, because I often find myself being very good friends with ENFJs. Some of my best friends for a lifetime have been and are ENFJs, is how good they are at NI. And what I mean by that is how good they are at showing people how things look like if you put them into perspective. Because I find the parent function or the second function usually to be a more healthier function in most people. And I think ENFJs manage to kind of make you see the big picture and what is really important. And I guess that's something I like about ENTJs as well, that NI parents' ability to kind of project the big picture.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, and then of course we still have the INFJ as part of the idealist group. What is your favorite thing about the INFJ personality in general?
I think it's I don't know. I don't really know a lot of INFJ guys, but I think for INFJ females, I just feel like very, very understood by them because obviously I'm the same type. So and it's quite rare for me to meet another INFJ female or a male, like in general. So I think that when I do know them, it's just very pleasant to know that someone is able to understand. And usually a lot of them have parallel experiences like at different time periods of life, which is funny when I do get to know about that. Like I've literally heard like similar dating stories or similar like workplace situations or similar many different types of experiences that sort of seem very relatable. So that helps in feeling that I'm not the only one, you know.
Oh yes, I know 3 female INFJs in my day-to-day life. 2 of them are really close friends, and one of them is part of an extended family. And I have the same feeling about talking to them. It's like, especially with my best friend from university, we tend to fill each other's sentences. Like one of us starts saying something and then the other one just finishes it. And I think it's like so amazing because it's not necessary to explain something so much. Something I struggle with a lot with other types is they might be like, if I just express my raw thoughts about something, they might say, what do you mean? This is bullshit. Or like, there's no real world application. That's why I've learned to kind of adapt my speaking or my presentations to fit a more sensing thinking audience as well. But as you said, with INFJs who think in a similar way, it just feels a bit easier to let the words come out the way they want to come out, I guess.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a lot easier because you don't really have to tone down on the NI part.
Yeah. I mean, even the FE part, because I would say it's also important. And, the struggles that come with it in terms of setting boundaries and so on. I feel like all the INFJs I've talked to have said something about that. Like, oh, I find it difficult to stop myself from doing things for others and so on and so forth. And I think that also makes me feel very understood. Okay. Now, should we move on with the guardians, the SJ types?
Oh, okay.
Let's see. ESFJ. What's your favorite thing about ESFJ?
I think when it comes to like healthy ESFJs, I appreciate that they like anticipate people's needs very well, and they can take care of both your physical and emotional needs. Like ESFJs I know like to bring food to people. That's like the very classic ESFJ behavior. And they also like to they also like to make people feel comfortable. So sometimes when they see you sort of looking a little uncomfortable or not really like getting something, they might try to help you out. So I think that kind of like motherly behavior is nice in a healthy ESFJ. And they also tend to look out for people who seem to be like a bit weaker so they can make them feel
Mhm,
comfortable.
mhm,
And especially when it's like, for example, if you are in a room with like maybe very strong T types, and then there's an ESFJ, it's like it helps to like balance it out,
mhm.
so it's not like as frightening. Yeah.
Yes. You said motherly. And for me, it's funny because my mother is actually an ESFJ. And I do associate the mother vibe with ESFJ because of that as well. But I think it's also a very natural process for them to like care for others. And I really appreciate it. I have another very, very good friend who's an ESFJ. And with both her and my mother, I find this a feeling of total support. Like, I'm going to be there for you no matter what, even if I disagree with you, even if, you know, you're not doing the thing that I would like you to do, I still feel supported. And that I appreciate so much because it feels like a safety net. Like, no matter what you do, you'll be able to rely on them. And that also comes from introverted sensing, I guess, which I find to be a
Yeah.
very grounding function. And
Yes.
it grounds the individual, but also their like close circle in a way.
Yeah, and I'm like quite envious of ESFJ's ability to sort of stay with many different situations. I feel like
Mhm.
they somehow can manage very complex social situations.
Mhm.
Like they can be friends. I don't know if it's like real friendship, but they can still sort of have a friendly connection with some of the very difficult people.
Mhm.
I mean, people that most would assume or label as difficult, but they
Yeah.
can sort of still be able to somehow find a way around that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's very true. I used to work in human resources, and I met a lot of ESFJs who were also working in human resources, and I found them to be some of the best people at kind of managing to deal with anyone. Even if they
Yeah.
didn't like the person, they still managed to find a way to connect and stay connected for a longer period of time, like you said. Yeah. Okay. What about ESTJs? A very different type from INFJ.
Yeah. Well, I think I like ESTJs when, specifically when they are the more like into the arts, which I know some people might not associate ESTJs with that. But traditionally in my culture, because we do have like traditional arts as
Mhm.
a huge part of our history, in the
All
Chinese
right.
culture, and I do realize that a lot of the teachers in that type of environment are
Mhm.
surprisingly ESTJs. Like I had a Chinese dance teacher who was ESTJ, and I think most people didn't really like her, sadly, because of her. Um, like she's just really strict and quite fierce to us, even though we were kids. But I think what I did admire about her, as well as people like her, is that she really respected the craft of whatever
Mhm.
she was doing. So she really wanted us to perform to our best, and whatever methods that she was using, which actually is not considered extreme in that area, since traditional arts is generally a very strict disciplinary type of like it's it's sort of is known for that
Right.
strictness. Right. So she's already considered not so extreme in that genre, I guess. But I think what I do like about ESTJs is that they try to do their best and they want to push other people to do their best.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and especially when it comes to arts, because I am interested in that. So when I see them trying so hard at getting people to do their best, I think it is sort of touching, even though sometimes it can also be scary, but I know that they really do want, it to be like they want the results to be something that they can be proud of.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yes, I agree with that. I would also say that I admire ESTJs for their ability to just, I don't know how to say it, but to kind of like deal with it. Um,
Yes.
because they just look at a situation and they accept the reality and then they do something about it. That's something I'm not particularly good at. So when I see them doing it, I'm like, wow, this is really amazing. And especially if you have them on your side, I find them to be so strong. It's like they don't need a lot of reassurance. They don't need a lot of validation. They just deal with it. And they manage to solve problems that I would really struggle with solving, I would say.
Yeah. And I think another thing about them is they are usually not, particularly well liked. I mean, just saying as a result of their personality. But I find that they still carry on. Not saying that they shouldn't like make adjustments when necessary, but I do feel like the ability for them to just carry on, in spite of like sometimes a lot of resentment from people, they are still able to like do the things that are important and carry that like immense pressure.
Yes, to kind of say like, too bad, I'm still gonna do it, in spite of what everyone else feels about it. Okay, let's talk about ISTJs because of being similar. What are the things that you like the most about them?
I think ISTJs, they're more patient than the ESTJs, and I like that. I feel like ISTJs, when it comes to detail-oriented stuff, obviously they are like really good at it, and they are also like able to impart that to you. Like because they are more patient as an introvert, they are like able to explain stuff to you and sort of help you out. Whereas like ESTJ is like busy running things, and ISTJ is just like, I feel like it's someone that I would need whenever it comes to things that are not in my alley, like detail-oriented stuff, especially. And because they are good at it, but they are also patient at the same time, so they can also like teach it to me. And they are usually quite nice about it. I think ISTJs, I do have a very good ISTJ friend, and she happened to be developed in the NE. And I think when they are developed in the NE, then it gets even better because we can also talk about like similar interests. And ISTJs do have a different side to them. They do have a more like creative, I mean, even though they don't really look creative, but they do have like this adventurous side to them as well. And I think I like when they have that showing.
Over the years, I've had mixed relationships with ISTJs, but overall, if I'm to like talk about what I like the most, is how they make me feel like things are going to be okay in a way. Like if I'm panicking or if I'm stressed, they are able to kind of bring me back to reality, because the sensing hero is just like realistic, and then they also have the TE, which structures the outside world and helps me like think in terms of solutions that are to be adjusted in a way to the real world or to the problems you're facing. And I like that realism that is still tempered, as you said, by them being introverts, and they have more patience. They just make me feel like, again, there's like a safety net that I can rely on, which I also talked about with respect to the ESFJs. I feel this as being something they have in common.
And I think one more thing, like because they do not have FE, it's also like they are able to go with what they really value. Like I remember my ISTJ friend straight up told everyone she didn't want to have kids, and I thought that was really brave, because I was like hesitant about having kids, and I didn't tell a lot of people because I was like afraid of people judging me, like strangers judging me. And she just straight up told everyone in the whole class, I think, and everyone she knew. And it's like she was able to just like be very like real with herself, like who she is. She seems to be very sure of her values.
Mhm.
I think she did have like the In Touch with FI
Yeah.
part of her.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. And then we still have ISFJs as part of the Guardian group. Another relatively similar type. What do you like the most about ISFJs?
Oh, I really like ISFJs because they are like probably my favorite SJ type, the one that I can get along with the most in the
Yeah, same.
SJ category. Because it's just so easy. I feel like talking with them is just so easy. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think I ever. Okay, I had like one conflict with ISFJ, and I think that was like an anomaly because we were both like quite unhealthy at that time.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like apart from that one incident, usually my experiences with ISFJs has been just like conflict free, and
Mhm.
they're just like really easy to talk to, and
Mhm.
they're also very considerate.
Mhm.
I find that they are sometimes too considerate, and I feel bad for
Right.
them. Um, but yeah, I just feel like I feel very soothed in their presence,
Mhm.
and I feel like they are very warm,
Mhm.
and in a way that doesn't make me feel uncomfortable because they are
Yeah.
introverts. So like their warmth is like not too much.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's like a comfortable level. And I think that we do have things in common as well. Generally, it's just like the communication really is really easy with ISFJs
Yeah.
compared to other SJ types where I would have a little bit of like struggles here and
Mhm.
there because of the placement of functions or
Mhm.
something. But I think with ISFJ, it's just the the easiest
Yeah.
to like have long-term interactions with.
I think so too. I also find them to be very, very easy to get along with. Throughout my life, I've always had close ISFJ friends, like lifelong friends. And one thing I was thinking of saying, but you already said it, is how they are warm, but not so in your face warm. Like
Yeah.
it's a more tempered warmth, and I guess I find it relatable. And also, what I like is that they make me feel like it's okay. Like I can feel this, it's okay. I can want this, it's okay, and that things are going to work out in a certain way. Again, that kind of support and encouragement that I find to be quite characteristic of them and ESFJs too. But I would say the ISFJ one is a little bit more tempered and more similar to what I would need. And then something else I really appreciate is that they don't have such high expectations in terms of how often people should meet or talk in a friendship. Because I have a lot of extroverted friends, and with them, I always joke around like, oh, please give me some space. And we struggle to find that middle ground. But with ISFJs, we have a similar need of like socializing, talking, and so on. And then it just becomes easier to not get upset at each other that we want different things, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Now we can move on to the artisans, the SP types. And let's start with ISFP. What's your favorite thing about ISFPs?
Right now, I'm surrounded by ISFP friends, so
Okay.
I think I sound pretty biased in my videos because I do have a lot of ISFP friends,
Mhm.
and that kind of shaped my view of them.
Okay.
I think what I like most about them is that we have similar ideas of fun. Like ISFPs can enjoy going to an art museum. They can
Mhm.
also enjoy going to like a party, and I mean INFJs are usually not like crazy about parties, but I think occasionally it's actually quite
Yeah.
fun to go to a bar and like dress up, you know,
Mhm.
and I really do like dressing up as well. So I feel like
Yeah.
we have very similar like hobby wise, like our hobbies just really gel well together. Like
Mhm.
we have similar taste in fashion. I mean, maybe for them it's a little louder with the SE, but we also, because their NI is also quite strong, so we gravitate towards like similar activities
Mhm.
that stimulate both NI and SE.
Mhm.
And we are able to communicate about like both the surface level stuff and like the slightly more NI heavy stuff, because they're not as unfamiliar with that territory.
Right.
Yeah, and I think another thing I like about them is that they are really straightforward about people, which I find really funny because they have like the FI judgment, but like in a humorous way. Yeah.
I see that. What I really love about them is, I think out of all of the 16 types, they have the most interesting combination of idealism and realism for some reason. Like the FI makes them quite idealistic about how they would like people to be, or what kind of things should happen so that, you know, things are up and kind of like fitting their standards and moral things and so on. But at the same time, they have that SE practical thinking, pragmatism, realism. My cousin is an ISFP, and we grew up together kind of like sisters, because we were both like only children. And she was always the one, even when we were like in kindergarten, that would like literally bring me back to reality, saying, your idea is stupid, it will not work. This is how we make it work. And I found it to be refreshing because she brought that like realistic perspective. But at the same time, it's not too realistic because of the FI vibes and the ability to listen and connect. So I really appreciate it. It's a very interesting combination that I think they are unique in having.
Yeah. And they are also like, I find their sense of humor quite like similar to my style. Like we laugh at similar things, so that like really helps. Because with SJs, I think the sense of humor is a bit different sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Right? That's very true. I didn't actually think about it, but you're right. I do have a lot of inside jokes with my ISFP cousin too, and we've been having them for like 15 years or so, and it's just something that we too understand. Okay, ESFPs. I know you also have a soft spot for ESFPs.
Yeah. ESFPs, I think what I like is about them as well is similar to the ISFP, like being able to connect on similar hobbies, because with ESFPs, they are sensors, but they tend to be like the more creative sensors. Like a lot of them I know work in like the media industry, like because of their entertainer quality, like because I went for acting and I do see that many actors are ESFPs.
That's true.
And obviously they also do strive in like finance and business as well. I just find them to be like helpful because they can like go with the sensing stuff, like being a dominant sensor, but they can also be creative. And that's like is a great combination, because sometimes, you know, with sensors, sometimes we can struggle with like finding something to talk about. But I feel like ESFPs, also another thing I like is their entertaining side. Like they can just straight up entertain the whole room. Like they enjoy doing that, and like kind of having the center of attention. And it's just very fun and like bringing a great time to people, you know.
Yeah, I think so. You are right about the acting part. When I did improvisational theater, I sucked at it. It's true, but I had fun at least. And I met some really, really talented ESFPs and ENFPs. Both were quite present, and they literally stood out from the group because even though they were not like experienced at it, they were very good at it naturally. And also what I like about them, I don't really know how to put it into words, I guess, but like they have this ability to kind of like ISFPs, to direct your attention towards the real world, to make sure that you are understanding what's happening around you, but at the same time to have this ability to like really connect and listen and understand, especially if you are one of their favorite people. Again, they can make you feel very special. I used to laugh around with my father quite a lot. He's an INTJ, and we are very similar, but I have a cousin who's an ESFP, and even when she was like 7 years old, she would literally teach me how to like do some practical things that I was very like bad at. And my father also, and like she was the child who was literally showing us how to like fix some things and how to like deal with them. And I was like, how do you know so much even though you're so young? Like you're literally a second grade student. And I was fascinated, and I still am. So that's really something I appreciate, I guess, but from all SE types. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how chill they are. I mean, they're not always chill actually, as much as they look on the outside, but I feel like that they are like one of the more laid back types. Like when they deal with life, I feel like I need to learn more about that approach clearly,
Yeah.
because like IJ way of dealing with life is like a bit limiting at times. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What about ISTPs?
I think ISTP, I don't really have many experiences with them. But surprisingly, ISTPs, I've met a few who are like really smart, and I just think that they are very underrated. Like people think they are like not as smart as intuitives because of them being sensors, but I just have met some of the really smart people with ISTP.
100%.
Because they have like TI, which is really discerning, and TI is like also really good at critical thinking.
Yeah.
And their SE is like very like more daring, like to do things.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't really procrastinate as much, and the NI, they can be very good at their NI. I think because they're introvert, they don't really need a lot of time outside, so they
Mm-hmm.
have time to like reflect and
Yeah.
introspect. So yeah, like I just find them to be sort of like the underrated smart people.
Definitely.
And definitely can connect on like conversations wise. I think they are one of the easier sensing types for me to just like immediately be able to talk about something.
Mm-hmm.
Besides ISFP, which is like
Yeah.
the easiest of
Mm-hmm.
all, to immediately connect. I think ISTPs as well.
Yeah.
Um, and ISTPs can also be creative. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have like two types of ISTPs. I feel like people usually only see them as the mechanic, but there's also like the more creative ISTPs. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like it depends on how you use your functions.
Mm-hmm.
And typically I am quite impressed by them, I think. But unfortunately, I just didn't have a lot of chances to like know them on a more personal level.
I mean, I do. I live with one. My boyfriend is an ISTP, so I do get a lot of interaction. But I also know a few other people. One of my mentors in training in therapy was an ISTP too, a place where you would not really expect one. I had two mentors, an ENFJ and an ISTP, so they were a very good match to kind of bring two different perspectives. But I love introverted thinking. I think it's my favorite function. I find it to be incredibly attractive. They say it's also a matter of the child function, the third function being attracted to itself. So I guess the TI child in me is attracted to TI in general. And as you said, like, I don't really want to associate intelligence with type because it's not really about that. But like, honestly, introverted thinking heroes, so both ISTP and INTP, I find to be very, very interesting thinkers. Like I'm fascinated by that. And it kind of like makes my introverted thinking want more and want more stimulation and more data to play with. And it's really awesome. Like I find that to be amazing. And of course the SE, which is like gives you a good old slap when you need to like wake up to reality. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I like is that they are like the calmer version of like the other ESPs, which is nice when you think about like the long term, because I feel like ISTPs are more grounded than like ESFPs and ESTPs. And that can be a good thing when it comes to having like a lifestyle together. And they're not like difficult to handle in a sense, like because with like the SE dominant, I mean they are very magnetic.
Yeah,
but like sometimes you find it a bit hard to handle
definitely.
because they're like everywhere and with all, every person that they know. But like
Yeah.
ISTP is like more
Mhm.
balanced,
Mhm.
so they have like the SE traits, but like you
Mhm.
can still deal with them. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I agree. Like, this is something I usually find with introverts, I guess, but it applies to ISTPs that like they don't need so much attention from me, and that makes me feel like relieved because otherwise my FE will want to please people if they need my attention. So I like that they are not so high maintenance with respect to that. Okay, and then we have the last SP type, ESTP.
ESTPs, what I like about them, they are very, also the funny thing, I feel like they are entertaining, similar with the ESFPs, and they are very straightforward. I appreciate that because I feel like sometimes they are saying the things that I want to say, but maybe have reservations,
Yes.
but they just like voice it out. So it's like, okay, then I don't have to voice it out, thankfully.
Mhm.
And ESTPs have, I don't know, I feel like ESTP is like you can even push it to like a more um, like inner self level, where I kind of forgot to talk about it in my previous video. But I feel like with ESTPs, it's almost like you can see a part of yourself through them. So you can use it, to sort of
Yes.
understand yourself.
Yes.
So similar to the INFJ, where we can see INFJs and we can also use it to like understand how we behave, how we come across in the eyes of other people. But with ESTPs, because their functions are like directly flipped from
Mhm.
ours, but they're like the inner self of us.
Mhm.
And sometimes, you see them and it kind of reminds you of
Mhm.
your own self, but like
Yeah.
in a different way, like maybe
Yeah.
how you behave
Or how
when
you
you
wish you could
right,
behave.
how you wish you can behave
Yeah.
in certain situations. And
Mhm.
I remember I had this like really funny conversation with my ISFP friend about like what kind of guys we would be if we were born like a guy. And both of us described ESTP and ENTJ.
Mhm.
Um, like so she described ENTJ and I described ESTP. So that
That's
was like our aspirational
yeah.
type because they have like things that we wish we
Mhm.
could be,
Mhm.
And I think that's
Yeah.
the way with them as well. Sometimes they also want to,
Mhm.
have a more NFJ look.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that's the
Yeah.
aspirational factor there.
Definitely. It's what basically Jung was calling animus and anima, and ESTPs are INFJs, animus, anima. Definitely. What I really also like about them is I think they are the only types that I can see this in. So on the one hand, they are very like improvisational and adaptable, and like they can change their like plans or whatever to fit the situation because they live in the moment. But at the same time, they are very strong, like they're very strong leaders, and they're very good at that. So they have the ability to kind of blend improvisational skills with leadership and strength. And I find that to be very inspirational as well.
Yeah, and like they are like to me at least, they are like the more approachable leaders,
Yeah.
because usually when you see leaders, you kind of see like EXTJs, which is common, but like
Mhm.
I find ESTPs, they are also leaders, but like because of the improvisational quality, they
Yeah.
are more open to making changes
Mhm.
sometimes, like and it's not saying that the other two cannot, but like they're just able to like be more on their feet, I think,
Mhm.
with the changes,
Yeah.
like more adaptable sometimes,
Yeah.
and they are definitely more approachable because
Mhm.
of the FE
Yeah.
tertiary function. So actually ESTPs can be pretty friendly
Yeah. Yeah.
when they
Definitely.
yeah.
I agree. And I think they're quite good at accommodating others and like making changes to help others feel better because of that extroverted feeling. Yeah. Okay. We still have one more group, the NT types, so the rationals or the intellectuals. Let's start with ENTP.
Okay, ENTP, also the entertaining part. I don't know, I just like being entertained. I think they are funny, and I think because they are quite, I would say they're actually quite similar to INFJs in the sense that a lot of the things that they think about is like relatable.
Yeah.
Because of the TIFE, I guess. And the fact that they're intuitive. So it's quite easy to understand what they are thinking. Like sometimes you want to voice out something and usually they quite easily understand and vice versa. So like the communication is very easy. Usually not much miscommunication, not much room for miscommunication, I would say. And they are able to also like take care of the social side, and because they are less concerned about like what's like they have very lower SFE, so they are less concerned about pleasing people, so it kind of gets a good balance for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that I don't love ENTPs. They tend to be some of the people I naturally like connect with. I was saying this to someone a few days ago that like I feel like with ENTPs I have this instant chemistry and connection. Like it's just like they understand exactly what I'm talking about. They understand exactly where I come from and why. And then they also bring a stimulating perspective with the NE. That kind of complements NI, and then they have the introverted thinking that is also very stimulating, because I was saying I really like introverted thinking. So overall, they are a very good conversation partner, and some of the people who are able to open my eyes the most, because they kind of speak my language, but at the same time, it's different enough to like challenge me to think more about something, or to like change my perspective, or see something from a more broader perspective, not so like NI depth focused or like laser focus on something. Okay.
Yeah, and they're more straightforward, which is
they are more straightforward. Yeah. Sometimes even painfully so, but it's still something that I admire. Yeah. Okay. What about INTJs?
I think INTJs are I would say they are like pretty attractive, because they lead with NI, and they are, and yet they are different from INFJ. So it's like there is still a contrast factor. Whereas with INFJ, like sometimes it's too similar, so there's not an attraction. You know what I mean? Like it's nice, it's like a friend, but it's not like as attractive. But I think with INTJ, they're a little bit like colder, and I find that to be quite an interesting quality, even among like female INTJs. I remember I found one female INTJ quite attractive, even though I'm like not typically attracted to females. But I just found it like she has this like quality of making people feel like they want to get to know her more, because she is, because like the NI connection is very strong, but she has like a lot of her own opinions, and she stands out for herself. And I really like that INTJs don't care about how people think, and they are very obvious in that regard. They are able to like literally ignore all the FE social norms, and I kind of like that, because it's actually quite tiring sometimes, you know, having FE.
Definitely.
And I actually like people who don't care about FE that much.
I know, it's very refreshing.
It's really exhausting for me. So, yeah.
Yes. What I was planning to say about INTJs, because I actually thought about it earlier, is that they are the only people who are able to give me a perspective about a topic that I've been worrying about for too long, and nobody else was able to calm me down. Because when I worry about something specific, like I have a problem with something and I can't deal with the situation on my own, people around me give me advice or help, but I feel like nobody's able to calm me down until I talk to an INTJ. And the explanation for that, I think, is that, well, they have the shared NI, so they know exactly what I need to hear so that the puzzle in my head clicks. They give me that missing puzzle piece because they relate, but then they give me a more brutal TE version of, okay, how you should deal with it, or how you should find a solution, or how you should externalize your thought process, which I'm missing completely. I don't see it. So when they bring it, it's like, oh, wow. My father is an INTJ, I was saying, and yeah, with some of the most complicated life situations that I've dealt with, he was the only one who was able to provide me with a perspective that I actually found to be 100% useful. So I love that about them.
Yes, and I mean, I might be biased, but I do think that INTJs are like one of the smartest people. I just think that they really get what I'm trying to say every single time, and they are able to add something to it. And usually the things that they add to it are like very on point, in my opinion.
Very relevant.
And they disagree. Yeah, and even when we disagree, they are actually open to hearing something if it's like makes sense to them. So like they also build up like their own understanding. And because like they are the only other type that leads with NI, like it's very it's like great to have them, because otherwise like I have to tone it down for other people all the time, you know.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay. No worries. No worries. Okay, we have two more types, ENTJ and INTP. Let's take ENTJ. What do you like the most about them?
I think I mentioned in my other video, but I like them the most when they flex SE because I like SE. So like yeah, so when they kind of act SE like, which they do have SE, but it's just like tertiary function, but they can kind of fool me into thinking they are ESFP, and I was like, oh my god, this is so fun, you know, we have a great atmosphere of like, and the good thing about them is that they also have NI, so it's like smart and entertaining, like the NISE, and it always gets me in a good mood, like this is great. It feels like almost like a ESFP but with like stronger NI, you know, that kind of like mood when they are not like in the work mode, when they're like in a lifestyle mode. I really like that, because they have like two modes of conduct, I would say. Like one is the work zone where they're very strict and disciplined, and the other is like the fun zone when they are like talking about casual stuff. So I like the talking about casual stuff part the most.
Right.
Other than that, I would say definitely like the achievement part is, I would say I use it as a form of inspiration, because I am striving right now to be successful on my own terms. Obviously not like, maybe not like the same level or like the same meter as them, but like I'm trying to use it as a way to drive my own success, like seeing like, oh, they can do it and they're young, you know, and so I can do it in my own field, maybe. Yeah,
that's something I kind of picked up on as well. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that just like with ENFJs, I like their NI parent for putting things into perspective and making you see the big picture when it's the most important. But at the same time, I appreciate their like the seriousness that they tend to have with respect to like responsibilities and commitments, because I like working with people who are like reliable, people that do what they say, people who you know, just like work hard, and they make me feel like I'm not the only one working hard, because I do have a tendency like in groups to like take on more work than I'm supposed to kind of like FE my way around. But I like that with them, I never feel like I have to, because they are very serious about their goals and responsibilities. So I really, really appreciate it. Okay. And INTP, last but not least, what do you like about them?
My dad is an INTP. I think INTP is also one of the easier types to communicate with. Also like rarely have any issues. I have a very close friend who is INTP, and I find that INTPs and I quite similar. Like we have similar struggles as introverts and intuitives. And we are, because I would say that I'm quite developed in a TI because of my parents. And I quite I would say that I connect quite well with the INTPs in their TI as well, because of that regard. And that's why the understanding is like pretty natural, I would say. And they're also like interested in like history, like the world affairs, current affairs kind of thing. So I feel like they really get it. I really appreciate strong TI in a friendship, because I feel like sometimes if like people who don't have TI or have weak TI, it's a bit difficult to explain certain things to them. Sometimes they don't quite get it, or they may even feel like misinterpreted to some degree, that they may even get offended, or they don't like what you say. But like TI strong users just get it, so they don't have the misinterpretation problem.
Agreed.
Yeah. So logical discussion wise, I do enjoy that with INTPs.
Me too. They're one of my favorite types. I've said it before. Like their TI is just very attractive, but I also like their very quirky way of looking at things because of the NE. Like it's interesting, and it always makes me like want to understand more. Like because with ISTPs it's more relatable because they have NI, but with INTPs they have a bit of a different way of like using intuition. So it's challenging and interesting. And I also find them to be very cute when they show their soft side, which you might take a while to get to, but once they let the inferior FE come out, it's really adorable and cute. And I love it. It's really nice to see it.
I find INTPs to be like the most feeling NTs. I mean,
yeah,
like based on my own experience, I feel like they are, when they do have like when they do show FE, it's like a lot. They show a lot of FE. And they tend to not shy away from the feeling function as much. I feel like compared to like maybe INTJ, where they just appear colder. But obviously they do have FI. So, but INTP is just warmer, like, which is rare for an NT type, to have that obvious warmth. But when they do have the development of FE, that can be pretty obvious. Yeah. So it makes it very comfortable.
Yeah, it's interesting because technically I would say ENTPs are more feelingy, but in a different way. I find INTPs to be more quietly warm, like we said about the ISFJ, and ENTPs to be more expressive about their feelings. So I would say both of them, but in a bit of a different way, kind of. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I just find INTP to be like more warm, because with ENTP sometimes like they have like I don't know, because they are FI ignoring, I mean, or FI demon or whatever. They are like, they can be warm in a group, but sometimes they don't have like the individual warmth as much as I don't know, INTPs, I find. Yeah.
I guess, that's more of an FI thing. Yeah. Okay. So that was it. 16 types and much more than 16 things that we like about them. Thanks a lot, Tori, for sharing all of your really awesome insights and opinions. I found a lot of relatability in what you said, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm really looking forward to like having more videos and more content about MBTI, Enneagram, or honestly other like psychology related things, like when we talked about attachment styles, for instance. You guys, I have linked the YouTube channel of Tori and the Instagram page in the description below, so feel free to check that out and subscribe to her and support her. Thanks a lot, Tori, and if you want to say anything now for the end, feel free to add anything else.
So do you have like a favorite category of I don't know, among the 16 types?
You mean like the temperament, or?
Or you can say like two of them. I mean, that's fine as well.
I don't know. I would just say like ISTPs, INTPs are probably my favorite types. I don't know about categories, but these two I would say I find to be the most interesting to me.
Right. Okay. My favorite categories are NT and SPs.
I would have assumed so. Not surprised. Okay. Good. Thanks a lot, everyone, and really happy to have you here along. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next week.